Hello, everyone. Today, I'm delighted to have on the podcast Cheryl Engel. Cheryl is a past client of mine. We helped her to buy a home in April of 2022. And this is another episode in our series, Adventures in House Hunting. Welcome to the show, Cheryl.
Hi.
So, Cheryl, tell us a little bit, the listeners, about your process. So you now own I think it's a two-bedroom house in a suburb of the Bay Area. Is that right? Vallejo?
Yes, that's correct.
That's right. So when did you start thinking that home ownership might be something you could achieve?
When my owner decided to sell, I decided that I wanted to stay where I was at.
Right. So would you have had to find another apartment? Like you were renting the house, right?
Yeah,
So would you have had to find another apartment if you hadn't been able to buy it?
definitely.
So when you decided about that, what was it about it that made it that it was going to work for you?
I worked around the corner and knew that there is possibilities to advance in my work. So I wanted to stay put so that I had the accessibility to get to and from work.
Could we talk a little bit about accessibility? What's the important factors there for you that this house had or the neighborhood?
It was all about the location. I really like the quiet neighborhood that I live in. And I really like that it's right around the corner from a school where I'm a teacher. And I just like that it's, just less than a 5-minute commute for me to get
Now,
back and forth.
the home had already had some modifications to support you. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, my house already had an accessible ramp that was installed for me probably about 2000 and probably about 2013 or 14. And from there, the ramp just made it easy for me to get in and out of my house because being in a wheelchair, I wouldn't have been able to leave having it had the one step that was going into and out of my house.
Right. And do you live in the house with other people?
I live here with myself, but my son also stays here, and then my mom is my main helper.
So when you made the decision that you wanted to buy the house that your landlord was going to sell instead of having to go find another place to rent, that must have been a little scary, I would imagine. Were you scared?
Very scared
What
because
were what was
I didn't know if I would qualify or if my income would allow me to purchase, or you know um, I was just scared all around because I was on Section 8 and I'd have to get rid of my Section 8. And, it's just very scary. So
so what did you do? What was the first thing you did?
um, the first thing I did was try to find a lender that I could work with that would um, kind of walk me through the process.
And were you able to find one using your own resources, or did you
Yes.
get help?
Yes, I was able to find a lender. My son's girlfriend's mother is a realtor also. So she knew a lender that helped me. And he was great.
And he helped you determine that you had enough financial backing to be able to do this, right?
Yes.
Did it mean bringing a lot of your own cash into the deal, or was you able to do it without too much of your own money?
I was able to do it with my mom. So we combined our incomes and were able to work it out together.
Are you comfortable sharing how much your house cost?
Yes, it was 505.
505,000. And
Yeah.
so that's in the Bay Area, that's fairly typical in the suburban areas outside of the Oakland, Berkeley, San Francisco nexus, for a house of that size. I know those prices may seem high in other parts of the country, but 505, and it's 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, if I remember correctly. Is
Uh,
that right? A
two
two?
bedroom, one bath.
2 bedroom, 1 bath, right. So um you mentioned that you were able to put in a modest down payment. Do you remember roughly what that was? I don't need the exact number, but
I think we put 17.
about less than $20,000, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's amazing. So you were able to buy a house with less than $20,000 of your own money and your mom's money too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's fantastic. So you had the loan, or you had the lender who said you could do it. Did the landlord know when the landlord told you that they wanted to sell? Did they say, hey, do you want to buy this? Or did you say to them, I want to buy this?
I told them that I asked them to please give me first dibs at buying the house before you put it on the market. And
Right.
they were, thank God they were generous enough to do that for me.
And so I believe after you told them that, sometime in that time frame is when I was contacted in an unusual kind of a way. I was not contacted by you. I was contacted by the agent that represented the seller. And he contacted me because he and I had done some business together some years ago. And he knew that I worked with people with disabilities and their families. And he said, can you help Cheryl? Because what he wanted to do in the highest ethical standard was to not be representing both you and his client, but to be representing his client separately and have somebody else look after the buyer, in this case, you.
Mm.
So then you met me. So what's the process like to go through writing the offer and getting it accepted and going through escrow? What do you remember about
It was a lot of paperwork.
that? Yes, that's
So
California.
it was a lot of paperwork and a lot of inspections. That's, I think, a lot of what I remember is just having a lot of inspections, inspectors come through and having to pay for inspections to be done on the house. So
Do you remember during that time when we were doing what we call the due diligence, doing the inspections, did you ever have any doubts that you were going to actually buy the house? Did you ever have any second thoughts?
not really. I think the only doubt that I had was to make sure that there's a beam underneath the house that needs reinforcement. I think that was a big one that was like, oh, if that's really bad, but then the inspector came in and said that it's not something that needs to be done right away, but can be done in the future. So
You did all the inspections and you signed all these pieces of paper. What else happened or what else happened next in the process?
um, just a lot of sending in your documents, making sure that you've got all of your supporting documents that support your income, making sure those are emailed or faxed or forwarded to your lender so that he can verify your income.
So do you remember the day when the house was officially became your house?
Yeah, yeah, it was really exciting.
Yeah.
They they did, we went through the closing process and signing all the documents and doing everything. And I just felt a big sigh of relief once it was over with.
And what's it been? Well, before we talk about what it's been like to live there, perhaps we should probably spend a few minutes and you tell us about the house. What you
Uh,
like, what you like about the house, and a little bit about what it looks like for people listening.
um, it's a 2-bedroom house. It has a very big yard, and it's got a very big backyard and a nice sized front yard. And there's still room to, modify different things if I need to. And just making little repairs as I go along. Um,
And what have you done so far? Like since you became the owner of it, what have you done to the house?
um, I replaced the sink in the bathroom to a vanity sink.
Easier for the wheelchair to go in and
Well,
out
the
and
wheelchair,
underneath?
no, the
No.
wheelchair is hard to get in, so
Oh.
I need to actually do some modifications there. So,
And
so
did you paint?
not yet, no. We
But you're
haven't
going
did a
to.
lot. We haven't did a lot yet to
It's
the
amazing
house.
how the time flies by, right?
Yeah,
It was only like 4 or 5 months ago that we did this, right?
yeah.
So has anything changed in the way you appreciate your surroundings, the way you appreciate your home now from versus when you were just renter?
Yeah, there's a lot of different, I have a lot of bouncing a lot of different ideas in my head of what I can do next.
Oh yeah? What are some of the
To
things
bring
you'd
it.
like to do next?
Putting gutters on the house definitely is my next thing, especially before the rainy season starts. So,
Yeah.
um, that and, we're in the process of trying to get a ramp in the garage so that I have 2 ways to go in and out.
Right, right.
And then replacing the floor in the bathroom and the kitchen most likely is my next steps. But
So
there's,
far you did the vanity in the bathroom. Are you planning anything in the backyard? Because it's quite a big yard.
yeah, it's my son has some ideas he wants to
Yeah.
look at, but I want to try to make it more accessible so that I can get to and get back there and actually utilize it. So right now I can't even really utilize this. Really hard to get back there and enjoy it.
Yeah. And you told me, I think, when we were working that you were able to, when you put in that ramp as a tenant, when that ramp was put in 2013, when you were still a tenant, you had resources in the community that helped to pay for the ramp, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
right? And I
yeah.
believe those are accessibility renovations are available to homeowners as well as to tenants. So you could take
Mhm.
advantage of that. You didn't have to pay for that ramp, did you?
No,
No.
no.
Do you remember
Uh,
what agency it was that?
yeah, the MS Society and the MS Focus um, Foundation helped with that. And then there may have been, I think Independent Living Resources helped, not
Oh,
financially, but they helped me like find resources to go about getting funding.
very
Um,
cool. So, what is it like to be a homeowner instead of a tenant or a renter?
um, it's really nice. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Have
like
you've made a
knowing.
mortgage or payment or two already, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It started in June, so
So June,
July,
July, August, 3 of them.
yeah. So
And it's
three.
great because every payment you make is going to pay down a little bit of the principal on your mortgage.
Yeah,
So over time, you're going to own more and have that debt's going to go down, and you're going to own more and more of the house, and the bank will own less and less of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like my car loan, like,
That's true. Except a car is only going to go down in value, and a house over time should go up. And
yeah,
now
yeah.
you mentioned that your mom is living there and sometimes your son. Do they like it?
Yeah, my mom doesn't live here. She just
Oh,
kind of, comes and helps me out, basically at night. And then I have other helpers that come in at different times of the day and help me out too. So one helper helps me get up and get ready for work, and the other helper comes in the afternoon after I get off work and helps me with like meal prepping, cleaning up, and things like that. So, and then my mom sleeps here at night with me. So,
what's the, if you could just say one thing that makes it better, at least for you, to own instead of rent, what would it be?
one thing that I could say, that instead of renting, it's nice because you're building that equity, and that it's yours, not that you don't have to really, if you have something that breaks, you're responsible for it. So you really want to value it more, I guess, than if you were a renter.
Right.
I mean, that was, a nice thing about renting is you can call your landlord, they fix it. But being an owner, it's all on you. So you
That's
have
true.
to you really have to budget and make sure that you're sticking money aside, so that if you do have unexpected repairs that you need to repair, then you have that extra cushion to fall back on.
So the managing the money is important.
Hmm.
And
Definitely.
you have a warranty though. You have a, so when we sell homes, we usually, all the buyers have this thing called a 1 year home warranty. Have you had to call the warranty company at all?
Yes, I did, but I think that's one of the, after we're off the recording, I'd like to ask you a little more about that. Um,
So, so if you were giving advice to someone who might be thinking about, either going out and shopping for a home or buying the home their landlord that they had, what would be some advice for them?
I guess first know what you can afford. Um, Working with a lender to find out exactly what you qualify for is a big help in knowing, like, is your house in your budget, I guess you could say.
Yeah, there are
So
there are a lot of people who go get excited. I want to buy a house, and then they go on Zillow or one of these sites, and they start looking at the houses. They're sort of putting the cart before the horse a little bit, huh?
yeah, yeah, you kind of just need to know what you qualify for. If you don't qualify for that price, then you don't know what to look for. If you don't know the price you're looking for, let me rephrase that. If you don't know what you qualify for, then if you go on Zillow and you start looking at houses, then you could be looking at houses that are out of your ballpark. So
Yeah, yeah. Do you um have any other thoughts for other people who might want to buy a house that they should learn from your experience? It's okay if you don't.
no,
That's all
not
right.
really.
That's all right. So Cheryl, so are you happy, Cheryl, in your house?
Yeah, yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
I'm really glad that you are. And I really appreciate that you've taken a few minutes of your day to tell my listeners about your experience with becoming a homeowner. And I hope that you have a lot of years of happiness in your house.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.